Hello beady friends, we're back with a new tutorial. This time we'll learn how to enclose a round Swarovski crystal with the help of Miyuki Delicas, and the technique we'll learn is circular peyote. I've made them in quite a few colors. Red with the opal bicones, in green with the Peyote Swarovski bicones. The green for the stone is emerald, where here it's light siam. And instead I made them also in light blue with the aquamarine color for the Rivoli. And instead the bicones are opal aquamarine with AB effect. They're beautiful. You can find them on our site. It's www.happybead.it. I will be making them today in this beautiful color. It's amethyst for the stone, and the bicones, I use the really new ones, the cyclamen opal crystal Swarovski that you can find on our shop. All the kits will be available as usual. You can go to the section for the free projects where you'll find the kits as well as all the links to our previous tutorials if you want to have a look. Remember to sign up to our channel to know when a new tutorial comes up. And to follow us on Facebook. Our page is Happy Bead La Fabbrica delle Perline, or on Instagram, Happy Bead Milano. So we will need today as materials our thread Fireline in size 006 inches in crystal, so transparent. Size 10 needles as usual. And we'll also need a thinner size needle, which is size 12, for the smaller beads that we'll be using today. The beads we'll use are one color of Delica Miyuki. You'll need about 3 grams to make both earrings. And then you'll need Miyuki Round size 15. Again, one color, 3 grams. And then you'll need a total of 18 bicones, size 4 millimeters, to make both earrings. So it will be 9 for each earring. I'll explain to you later what are the other option of making earrings. If you don't like earrings, you can make as well a pendant. Also for your material, you'll need a Rivoli Swarovski, which is a round stone cabochon with no holes. It has a point both at the top and at the back for reflecting lights, and its diameter is 14 millimeters. They're available in different sizes on our site, but the size you'll need for today is a 14 millimeter. And I'll put you in the video later on the different number of beads for the different diameters. You'll need 2 of these, one for each earring, and obviously 2 hook earrings for the findings, and that's all. So place your Delica beads size 11 on the mat and cut about a foot of thread and thread your needle size 10 for now. Count 36 beads on your thread, making sure not to have them slide off. And once you've had 36, check again the number, because it's very important, the correct number to start circular peyote. So you have to be sure that it's an even number, and in the case for our stone of 14 millimeters, you'll need 36. So check it twice, please. So I've placed 36 beads on my thread, and I'll check it again. This is how I count them to check. I place the thread on the mat, and with my needle, I count and push the beads forward on the thread. So 4, 8, 10, 13, 16, 19, and 20, 24, 27, 29, 30, 33, and 36. All set. Now, we have to go through the first bead from the side where the tail thread is coming out, just first through the first 2 beads. And pull tightly so that you get a ring. leave about a good 8 inches of thread of tail so that you'll have enough to close the thread on this side. Now we have to start working on peyote. So these beads are our base bead. Okay, here I am back. So I've placed an even number of my substitute beads. These are beads that I use to show in class when I want to make things more clear. They're plastic. They have the same size of the Delica beads, so they're cylinder, but obviously they're not Miyuki. They're very big, but it helps when I'm explaining because it makes it clear. So I've placed an even number, not 36, because otherwise my work will be too big for the screen. I've actually placed 20. And then I'll go with my needle through from the back of the bead where my tail thread is coming out, pull through, and I have my ring like before. Show you. Here you go. And then I'll start working now with peyote. So this is my base. My yellow beads are my base beads. And I've put a second color. You'll be using always the same color, but I just think that when explaining using 2 colors, it's easier. So you have to keep your ring on your index finger with your thread pull on towards the hand that is holding the needle. As always, I'm left-handed, so this might confuse you. Pick up a bead. The rule is pick up a bead, skip a bead, go through the next bead on the ring, and pull. Tension is very important in this work, as always with Miyuki. So pull your tail thread and keep it tight with your other hand while you're working with your working ring. So pick up a new bead. So 1 bead I pick, 1 I skip it, 1 I go through. Like this. Pull. And you can see how we're starting to get the classic bead adjustment where you have 1 bead, 2 beads, a single bead, double bead, which is the kind of work that you need to have to be in peyote. So pick up a bead, 1 new bead, skip the next bead on the ring and go through the next one. And you'll be adding half of the number that consists of your ring. So in your case, since your base is made up of 36 beads, you'll be adding 18 beads total. So go ahead and add the first 17, like I showed you. Here I am. I've placed all my beads around except the last one. I flattened my work. Yours should be this way with the beads. I flatten it because it's easier to see. So a total of 24 beads for my base, actually, not the 20 I said before. And because they're 24, I've actually placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 beads around. And then I'll be adding the last one, the 12th, to my circle. So I pick up a bead. I skip the first bead on my ring, as usual, and then I go through the next bead on the ring, which is the one from which the tail thread is coming out, as you can see. So it's easy to identify in this case. It won't be that this case won't be true for every ring. So I've actually finished my ring, but the tricky part about Peyote Circular is that once you finish a ring, you actually have to take a step up, it's called, because you have to pass through the first bead that you've added in the round. So in this case, it's the first blue bead that I found in front. When you have everything made up in one unique color, it's harder to identify. So I'll show you with the smaller beads right about now. So here I am. I've stepped up. So the step up is needed because now the work changes. Instead of adding 1 bead, skipping and going through the next, I have already my beads that are alternating between two beads and a single. So I will be placing a bead on top of the single one. So I'll be filling up the spaces between the blue beads. That's how peyote works. Okay, so I've placed a new color of the bigger beads, but first I want to show you with the Delica Miyuki actually how the step up is done like I've made in the bigger circles. So let me magnify, perfect. So as you can see, I'm missing the last bead to end the round. So I pick up my 18th bead, skip the bead in front of me on the ring and go through the next one. So you can see I'm coming out of the single bead. And now the step up is to go through the first bead that I find in front of me, and it will have to be one that is double. So here you go. This is a step up. Without adding any bead for the step up, and you just pass through the next bead so that you're ready to fill up the spaces between the delicas. And now we'll have to add it around the same way. So I always find it easier because in peyote circular, it's very important when going around to not miss the step up. So a little trick that I use is to pre-count my 18 beads on my mat so that while I'm working, once I finish the beads, I can notice that I actually have the step up, because when you're working with all the same color, it's harder to understand where you're supposed to step up. So by counting the beads, you'll find your spacing easier. Okay, so I'll step Delica aside and I'll add around here. So here I am with my big beads. I'll pick up a bead and go through the next blue one of the ring. And this is the way that you're supposed to keep your work. With the ring going around your index finger of your free hand and the needle working in the other hand. Go through and you'll be adding in total 18 beads. Again, so the number of beads that constitute your round won't change. It will be constant. So in this case, for this project, so you'll always be adding 18 beads. Add a whole round of these orange beads or of your color. So you'll end up having pairs of 2 beads all around. I'll show you the first. Yeah, as you can see, so 2 and the yellow one that's originally for the base and the orange on top, the yellow for the base and the blue from the round before. So 2, 2, 2, 2 all around. Add 18 beads. I'll see you for the step up. Okay, so I've added my orange beads all around, in total 12 again. And now I have to step up in the first bead at the end of the round. So from the blue to the orange, step up without adding any beads. And this way I'm ready for a new round. I'll be adding black beads to our last row of delicas. I'll show you first with the smaller beads. As you can see, we have 2 beads each round like before, and I'll do my step up in the first bead of the round. Now, the tighter you pull, the easier the work will come. And as you can see, we're starting to build the sides of our cage. So I'll be adding a new round of Delica with my big beads. 1 bead at a time through the next orange one. Pick a black bead, go through the next orange. Another one. So in total, you'll be adding 18 beads once again. If you want to count them, it's a good idea, I find. And as you can see, you'll start getting 3 beads where you have the black that you've just added, 2 beads, 3 beads, 2 beads, 3 beads. And this will constitute the side of your cage. So finish off the round and step up, and I'll meet you there. So I've added the 3rd round with my black beads all around, and I've done the step up. And then now we have to switch out our beads. So I've taken away the Delica size 11 and I've taken out my 15 round beads, which are the smallest that Miyuki produces, and we'll use them to tighten the side of the Delica and to be able to block our Rivoli stone, because as you can see, the Delicas fit perfectly around the stone, but they don't stop it from coming out. So first things first, I'll show you the step up on this side as well. Have to pass through the front bead, and it will have to be a bead that is of the 3, so pull through, and I've stepped up. And the number of round beads, 15, they're also called micro, you'll have to add is still 18. So you'll add 18 seed beads rounds around. So if you want to count them again beforehand, it's, I think, best. And you go through. Pull 1. This time it's going to be easy to understand when you finish the round because the beads are different sizes and different colors. Go through and pull. It's really, really important on this round to pull tightly because the Delicas will tighten because the beads you're adding are actually smaller, so they'll fill less space between the beads and you'll have to tighten it. This way we'll close up one side of the cage. So add around 18 beads. I'll show you with my bigger beads as well. So I've put 1 bead on, through, pull, put the next bead on. I'm actually using as an example some Miyuki size 6, which are really big, but will work with these substitute plastic beads. Pull through. And you can see already with the first 2 how the circle tightens. This will actually stop my bead. So go around and add all the round for in total 18 beads. And step up at the end of the round. Okay, so I've added the round of micro around. I'll show you on the original one, adding the last bead, going through. And it's very clear when you finish the round, having switched beads. So then I step up in my first size 15. And you see it here on the small one as well, how it's tightened around. And if I try and put my stone inside, it's not going to stop it, but it's starting to tighten it around. So you'll need to add a second round of these smaller beads. So add another 18 around and step up at the end. You can keep your stone out for the while you're doing this. So add a whole round here. But first I'll like to show you on the smaller one. I've kept it open so that you can see the difference when you pull. See how it tightens when you pull on the thread? So pulling on this step is really, really important. So pull tightly and you see how it tightened around. So let's add a second round of micro around the cage. Okay, so I finished my second round of Miyuki size 15s, and you can see how my cage has been pulled tightly. Now we'll place the stone inside the cage with its shiny face, its front, placed against the size 15, and you can see how it's perfectly enclosed. Now we'll have to do the same thing, so the 2 rounds of size 15s on the other side of the cage. So I'll show you how to do that. You can see it here, I've added the second one on round. So I'll show you on the big one. You're in your round. I haven't done the step up because it's not necessary, because I'm not going to go any further on this side. So from the last bead, I'll go through the Delica, black one in order of how I've added it. So I'll go black in diagonal, orange, blue. You see how I'm moving diagonally in the cage to end up on the other side, which is the back side now of our cage. Yellow and yellow again. So in total, I've moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads around to come out of this side, the yellow side, where I'll have to add the same beads. So I'll show you on my actual earring. Move around. Yep. 1, 2, again diagonally, 3, 4, and 5 to come out of the Delica. Here you are. Ready to put another round of 15. So next one. And remember, these are rounds, not Delica. So they're smaller and they will fit nice and tightly around the Delicas and pull them tightly around the stone or crystal. Go through the next one. And so on. You can see already with 3 beads how tightly they've spun. Be careful that your thread doesn't get caught on the other bead. Otherwise, first, you'll see it. And secondly, you won't be able to have all the tension around. So through the next. Okay, so add in total 18 beads for the round, and then I'll meet you at the step up. Here I am. I have my last bead on the thread, and I'm going through the last Delica bead of the round to add my 18th 15. Okay. And now I have to step up in my first 15. Here you go. Now I'm ready to add the second round of 15. So another 18 to go around. Pick a bead, go through the next bead of the previous round. Pick up a bead, go through the next of the previous round. And so on all around. So add in total 18 beads and step up. So I finished the second round of 15s. I've done the step up coming out of this bead, and now my cage could be done. My stone is completely enclosed. It can't fall out either on both sides. And I could use this to make maybe a ring with a strip of peyote flat, or I could make a lot of them and sew them together to make a bracelet, or I could use it as a button as an earring, just like this. You have a lot of ideas here. The important thing is that the technique that we learned today can be used with any size stone. So the stone that we've used today is a 14 millimeter diameter, and you've needed 36 beads to start. You can simply switch out the number of beads with which you start to enclose a different size stone. So if it's a smaller stone, like a 10 millimeter or a 12 millimeter, you'll have to use less beads. So if I started with 36, you could start with 34, 32. always an even number, absolutely. You can't do circular peyote with an odd count number, so you have to always start with an even number. Or you can make it bigger with a bigger number of beads to start off, and then you can just do the same thing with the same number of rows. So I'll show you how to place the Delica bead on the ledge like before in the bigger model. I've come out of the blue bead, which is the central one of the three. Pick up a new bead and go through the next blue bead, so the central one of the next group of three. Pull, and you can see how the blue bead goes on the edge, and practically it will be placed between the yellow and orange bead of the pair, like this. You'll be adding a total of 9 beads, not 18, because we don't want to fill up all the spaces between the blue beads, because we will need only 9 beads to put the 9 bicones. If we place them in each space, they'd be too close and you don't have the space to add the bicones. So once you've added this, we have to go through the orange, and through the next bead, the blue bead. So you move 2 beads over to the next central bead of the 3 to be able to add the next one. So I'll show you how to place the Delica bead on the ledge like before in the bigger model. I've come out of the blue bead, which is the central one of the 3. Pick up a new bead and go through the next blue bead, so the central one of the next group of 3. Pull, and you can see how the blue bead goes on the edge, and practically it will be placed between the yellow and orange bead of the pair, like this. You'll be adding a total of 9 beads, not 18, because we don't want to fill up all the spaces between the blue beads, because we will need only 9 beads to put the 9 bicones. If we place them in each space, they'd be too close and you don't have the space to add the bicones. So once you've added this, we have to go through the orange, and through the next bead, the blue bead. So you move 2 beads over to the next central bead of the 3 to be able to add the next one. So I'll show you how to do it again on the bigger one. Coming out of the blue bead where I want to place the bead, pick up a blue bead, go through the next bead, central one of the 3. Then I have to move 2 beads over, so go through the orange or the yellow, same thing, of the 2, and through the third one. Once I've moved over 2 beads, I can actually add a next one. This way you see how they're spaced out, and when you do it on the actual earring, you have in total 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I have to add the 9th one. So I'll show you on my actual earring. Through the Delica, the middle one. And as you can see, they're nicely spaced out, so that we can have the space for the bicone. So next step is to once again move, because we have to come out of one of these Delicas that we've just added. So I'll move in the 2 beads I was moving over again. So central one of the group before the bead. It's kind of like a step up, and through the other bead, only that we're actually moving 3 beads over. So that's why we don't call it a step up, because step up is usually moving only with 1 bead. Now we're ready to add the next step. This time we will need size 15 beads and the bicones. So As I said at the beginning, for each earring, you'll need 9 bicones, size 4 millimeters, and size 15, so we won't be needing the delicas anymore. So pick up on your thread, one size 15, a bicone, and another size 15 all together on your needle. Then go through the Delica on the ledge that we've just added in the round previous to this one. So go through the Delica next to it of the previous round and pull, and then repeat. So pick up a 15, bicone, another 15, and then go through the Delica, the next one on the round. So we're filling up the spaces between the Delicas on the ledge. And through around. So in total you'll have 9. Go around and add all the 9 bicones. So I've added the first 8 bicones. I'm going to show you how I'll add the 9th one, going through the Delica, the first one where we started off. Here we are. And then because the bicones can cut through your thread, I always prefer to go back through them again to reinforce my work before adding the next round. So go through again as if you were adding them back again. So through the 15, through the bicone, through the 15, and through the Delica again, all around. So count them as you go so that you know that you've gone through them back again through all of the 9. And I'll see you then. Okay, so I've gone through back all the 9 bicones, and my thread is coming out of one of the Delica ledge. So I have to move around for the next round. So I have to pass back through the size 15 and the bicone, and the next size 15 of the group. So you won't be able to get them all 3 with your needle, and you'll have to do it in 2 steps, but you have to pass all 3. And now I'll switch around, I'll switch needles because these micro beads are very small and I've already been through twice. So since I have to go through a 3rd time, I want to be sure that I don't break any beads, because otherwise I'd have to undo all of my work until I get to the broken bead, because once you break a bead, it's a mess. So pick up 3 Delica beads, 3 15 beads, and go through the 15 of the next group and the bicone. And you're forming little picots, which is our group of 3 beads that will make a point. And then I have to go through the next 15 again. It's much easier with a smaller needle. And then another 3 15s. Here you go. Go through the 15 in the round, the bicone. Make sure that they make the point. If they don't fit well and make the point by themselves, just play with them until they do. It's also a question of tension, so pull tightly, as always. Another 3. And go through. And go all around to finish off the round. I've added all the groups of 3 picots around between the bicones. My earring is practically finished. We just have to add the ring on the back of the earring to hook it. So I'm coming out of one of the 15s before a group of 3. And instead of stepping up, I'll be stepping down to go on the behind of my cage. So I'll pass through the Delica on the ledge that I find in front. Yep. And then we'll be coming out of the next Delica. I'm still using my size 12 needle. This way I don't break the beads. Better to break a needle than to break a bead, always, as a rule. As I was saying, I just broke my needle, so I had to substitute it. Sometimes you can just feel it. And so I've just come out of the Delica next to the ledge one, and now I'm coming out in the next Delica of the round. It's actually the one right behind your bicone, whichever bicone, it's the same. And now we'll have to add to the thread 8 15s. So round beads again, 4 and 8. Yep. Then we're coming out of this bead from the bicone, and the ring will be placed behind one of the picot. So we'll have to go through this Delica behind the other bicone, the one next to it. So I'll show you. Here you go, perfect. Through here. Pull, and you get a ring. Now we have to reinforce it. So we go directly back through the 8 beads. Don't worry, the thread will hide. So I'll pass back through all my 8 beads. Be careful to pass them through in the order that they were. Put on the thread. Last 3. And we're back to where the Delica was, so we'll go through it. This time, instead of taking it from here, we'll go on the other side so that our round beads, the 15s, are hooked on both sides of the Delica. It just makes the ring prettier. Perfect. Now we're ready to close off our threads and to finish off our earrings. So move to the back of your cage, since we're already here, coming out of one of the 15s from the last rounds on this side. Then pass through your needle. We're doing a half hitch knot under the thread that passes between the two 15s. You'll get a loop of thread. Okay, this is my tail thread. Get it out of the way so that you understand. Loop of the thread. Go through with the needle in the loop. And pull. And then move a few beads over. Still working with my thinner needle. Sometimes with these things, it's just safer to go with a thinner needle. And pass again, make another knot. Remember, it's always 2 knots for each thread. So under, pull, through the loop, pull tightly, the knot hides itself, and then go through a few beads, and then you're good to cut this thread. And you'll have to do the same thing with the tail thread of the beginning, and then you're done. So cut it. When you cut Fireline, always in tension, so pull on the thread while you're cutting it. It just makes a nicer cut. And I'll be doing the same thing with my tail thread. So I'll show you how to add the hook finding on the earring, because not a lot of bead weavers know how to work with pliers maybe. So I have flat nose plier, and I take the loop of my finding and I open it. You never open this way. You always keep the rounded shape of your finding, and then remember that the findings have a version. So hook it up and close. Be careful on which side you've placed the earring so that it sits right. And here you are. So once again, all my earrings together. I had a lot of fun with the colors this time. Red version, the light blue version, the green, and the purple. Finally done. Another thing that I didn't explain is that these bicones have an AB alabaster finish, so they have an extra outing for shiny. So if you use them, I think you should flaunt it. So you can have your bicones twirl around until all the sides of the bicones are showing their extra shiny alabaster finish. Since you have it, why not use it? Here you go. So that they're all super shiny. So once again, you can find the kits for the earrings on our site. It's www.happybead.it. You can go directly in the section free tutorials, where you'll find also all the other videos for the other projects. And you can also sign up on the channel if you haven't done it already. And please leave a comment if you have any questions or doubts about the tutorial or about the beady world. Thanks again. Take care.